Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Box, the Technical Trader. It is Thursday, February the 9th, 2012, and we're going to go over some longs and shorts today. Obviously, the market is what looks to me like under distribution with more declines than advances on a day where the market was up. Up-down volume kind of weak too. It's getting tired at the very least and maybe even about to roll over. But let's face it, a lot of stocks have broken out and run, and they may be a little bit short-term overbought anyway, so I think a pullback would be healthy here. Starting off with IPSU, take a look at this big down channel that was in force over the last several months, and today with a big thrust of 266 or 79%, 8.2 million, by far the biggest volume we've ever seen in the stock, exploded through the declining topsline and 50-day moving average, took out lateral price resistance, and exploded to get all the way up to secondary resistance and close at 602 up, as I said, 266. Big day for that one. Where's it going? Well, we can look at secondary resistance up around the 7.25 half area as another minor level where it may reach if it does get through here. And then beyond that, intermediate term target around 9.5, 10. SPRT had a big day today. You can see the downtrend that was enforced and the base formed. It broke out here and then flagged. Today exploded with a big gap, ran up 60 cents or 23.5%. Has 876,000 shares traded. That's a pretty big volume for that stock. Although it did hit secondary resistance, I'm looking for further upside and a $4 target. Solar energy stocks did fantastic today. You can see the move up in TSL for starters here, jumping from 905 to 1219 before backing off to 1095. Still up $1.72 or 18.6%, but it was substantially higher. Look where it reached up near the key overhead resistance zone before backing off. If it backs and fills in this area, maybe a setup for further upside. I would then look for something in the mid-teens. Other stocks in that group include LDK, which, as you can see, after a big downtrend, double bottomed, broke out, and has worked its way up, and then exploded today for 12.6% or 75 cents on almost 7 million shares. Big volume for that. Looking for more upside to 7.75 and then maybe 9. Another stock in that group was SOL, which popped out of a base yesterday and followed through today with a gain of 9.3%, 27 cents on more than 5 million. At this point, potentially, I would look for the stock to make it up towards this area for a test around 4.25. That's my next target. And also in that group today was CSIQ, which you can see after the big downtrend was broken here, it pulled back and tested the moving averages, popped, formed the falling wedge, exploded out of it to the top of the channel near price resistance. So perhaps short-term overbought, and maybe the reason why it backed off 474 to close at 439. Still 4 million traded, and the stock had a pretty solid day today, but let's see if we can get back over the 490 resistance zone and make it up towards the 6.25 range. GNK, the shipper, had a big day today, popping from 787 to 929, backed off to 902, but still up $1.10 or 13.9% on 2.3 million shares. Nice day. And indeed, the declining top line is taken out. We can eliminate that now here. And what's formed here is a breakout across key resistance and a move up to test 10 in my short-term target, secondary target, 12.75, 13. Swing trade PCYC acting great. It ran up the other day to 20. We got out. It pulled back. It spiked right back up today, $1.81 or 10%. As volume increased to 1.3 million, it looks like it may hit to the top of the channel there at 22, maybe as high as 24, 4.5. Calyx Software, big move in the last couple of days, broke out yesterday, followed through with another $1.07 or 10% today, 1.75 million shares. It's up against resistance here. We may see it back and filled flag or whatever, but if it does go to the next level, we're looking at 15. Friend Finder Network finally got up to secondary resistance today and backed off, but it reached as high as 254 from last week's low of $1.20. So more than doubled in 3 sessions. Big volume, 4.2 million today. Although it may be a little short-term extended, let's look for some pullback consolidation in this zone. Should it get through here, we can see 3.5. That brings us to MyTech, which had a nice follow-through session. After pulling back in the morning at 10:18, I issued a buy. The stock then ran to 11:32, right to the declining top line and backed off a bit, but it still held 11 at 11.05, up 71 cents or almost 7%. 1.4 million shares, not quite yesterday's 3.2, but one of the biggest volumes all year. And I would look to see if this stock can make it through this line. If not, and it backs and fills in here in a flag pattern, watch for the next move up towards 13. Saba Software, continues to look great. It's extended past the top of its channel here and accelerated, maybe overbought short term. But the key is that it took out last year's high, and in the multi-year scheme of things, is also at all-time high territory here. So this could extend, and I would look for more upside over the course of the next few weeks. But let's see if we can get a pullback consolidation retest of the 10.5 3/4 level first, targeting at 13-14 zone. Swing trade glue doing very nicely. Moved up steadily from the 270 area to today's high at 470, literally 468. The angle of ascent is very sharp and unlikely that it can maintain that for long. However, my target around 490 may be reached first. Secondary target now up at this double top from earlier last year, around 6. TiVo continuing its move after the breakout. You can see the breakaway gap, the retest, and it moved up. Today was up another 20 cents or a little less than 2%, but it looks to me like it wants to move higher, and my short-term target is 13. Lastly, SMSI, after the sharp 3-day move up, pulled all the way back this morning to 230 and closed at 260. A nice comeback to close nearly unchanged, up 2 cents today, but that was a nice. I want to show you the chart pattern. Still think we can get to about 305.10 zone before we get a bigger pullback. Now to the shorts. And before I do that, I want to show you the TVIX real quick. You can see how the TVIX, which had made lower lows for a while, is suddenly getting solid upside volume. That's 3 days in a row. That's the first time in months we've seen 3 days in a row. And it does appear that the declining top line here was punched through lateral price resistance, also closing at 1628. Now that was up $1.46 or almost 10% today, as 14.5 million traded. I suspect that if the market rolls tomorrow, we're going to see the stock up around 19.5, potentially 18.5, 19. Let's call it. Now on the short side, Tiffany, TIF. This is in a distinct downtrend, and with the bear wedge here, it looks like it could roll over and get hammered back down about 57. That's my target. Cash America, distinct head and shoulders, a breakdown, stair step lower, got to the bottom of the channel, moved back up to the top of the channel, and began to roll over and was down 71 cents today. If it does continue lower, it could at least retest 40 and maybe get down towards 38. Ultra Petroleum acting very weak, continues at the lows for the year, lows for the last year and a half. As the massive top is broken, it snapped back to resistance here and then rolled over to make nominal new lows. You can see where it's hanging right at this level, around 23 and a quarter, a half. If it breaks that, we can see 20 pretty quickly. Cabot Oil and Gas, after forming a head and shoulders top, broke down hard and then formed this bear wedge. It's still above long-term support, but I would see and look for a test of 27.7.5 from this 32.5 range. If that's broken, we can see something in the low to mid 20s. Put a short out late today on Decker's Outdoor. I like the way this stock has formed a head and shoulders, came down, bounced, made a lower low to the bottom of the channel, formed a wedge, and today dropped from 89.25 to 85.75, closing 86.03, down $1.22, but maybe just the beginning of a reversal right off of the declining top line and declining 50-day moving average, as well as the top of the bear wedge. Should it break, expect a quick test of the 78.9 zone, and if that's broken, the stock could get clobbered below 70. CRR acting very weak since it broke down a week and a half ago, and it bounced a little bit, and now it's now testing key support from the October lows. Should that get taken out, look at this long-term pattern. No surprise if this thing gets down to 70-75 zone. OPNT, OpNet, massive topping formation. It ran right up to resistance during this last rally, failed at the declining tops line, broke the rising wedge, and got plundered yesterday. Today down another $1.79 or 5.5%. It is approaching a support zone, but if this entire pattern is broken, this could come down into the low 20s. EQT also forming a bear wedge in here. You can see the declining channel, but this bear wedge here is narrowing and narrowing, and it's near the declining tops line. If it should roll and come down, look for a test of 45, maybe as low as 42. And lastly, today is WRLD, which formed a little head and shoulders, broke down, snapped back to the moving average, and today backed off $1.31. But it looks to me like it could roll. There is support at 63. I expect that to be tested. A break of that level, and we could get down into the mid to high 50s. So there's some longs and shorts for today. You guys have a good day, good evening, a good trading day tomorrow, and I'll talk to you next week.